Hello everyone. Today I want to show you the third and fourth version of my Shulkerbox based multi-item sorting system. Now, for the benefit of the people that didn't watch the first two videos, I will quickly explain what this is and what it does. So you have these chests at the bottom of each one of your slices of your storage, where you can input any item you want. I'll tell you how to set these chests up later. And any item that ends up in one of these chests will then go directly into the slice. So for example, this would be the redstone slice. So any redstone items that I want to have in here would go into this chest. Now, the big difference between this and most other multi-item sorters is the way it actually sorts the items. This doesn't actually use items directly, it uses boxes, meaning you can't just put an item into this chest and have it sort. It will end up back at the input here. What you need to do instead is you need to input boxes. So you have a box here, random stuff in it, grab an item, put it in there, and then you can break the box with this lever here. It will always dispense a fresh new box for you. And then it will put any boxes you broke into the input chest. Now, as you can tell, the input chest doesn't actually immediately input the items. If you want to actually input the items into your storage, you're going to have to press the button. Now, the box then goes up over here and disappears into the splitters. Just like with the last storage, there's 4 splitters for the smaller version of this. And for the bigger one over there, I have 6 splitters. Now, this is the main speed improvement about this storage compared to the other. So for some rough numbers, the old splitter I was using was splitting items at about 23,000 items an hour, or roughly 2.5 times hopper speed. This is a new splitter I made that took me a very long time to make. This is why this video is so incredibly late. But this splits items at an average of 6 times hopper speed, or about 58,000 items an hour. And for certain boxes, it can easily also exceed that, go up to all the way to 8 times hopper speed. So having 4 of these, you might already be able to figure out that yes, this system, 4 of these splitters running consecutively will get the sorting speed to about 200 odd thousand items an hour, depending on the boxes you input. And we'll demonstrate that later with the big system. Now, after the items have been split, they arrive here and go into this dispenser. Now they're now in a shape and form where there's only ever one item type per box. That's the whole point of using the splitters in the first place. And this means you can now take out a single item from the box, put it as a filter in the minecart, put the actual box in the second slot, and then just like before, they get pulled over and go into the actual slices. Now, the slices themselves have changed quite a lot. So from the 2.0, where I was still using the piston bolt, the boxes needed to essentially go all the way through the slice and get sorted before you could input the next box, which meant there was quite a lot of delay between sorting the individual boxes. Now for the 3.0, I then switched over to using one of these Lumifive based designs where the cart essentially finds its slot by slowly driving under the encoder chests. And they get sucked up into the slice where it's actually supposed to go. I'm using the exact same system for my new sorter. However, I'm using a different input here. I'm using something designed by Inspector Talon now. This is a little bit faster. This can input a box every 32 game ticks, exactly. Now, the slices themselves have also changed by quite a lot. I will quickly explain how the slice logic works now. When the card gets selected for its slice, it immediately dumps back the item from the encoder chest. So in this case, it would be a tough brick wall, for example. Or over here, see if I find something better. Yes, like an end rod. It will then drive up here, dump the item back into the encoder chest, essentially resetting it, making this extremely fast. And the cart itself will then go up this bubble elevator and all the way up here, where it will then deposit its item into the hopper, and the dispenser will then dispense the box to here. Now, what's different about this than the version 3.0 is that the item will actually be put back into the box. That is something that 3.0 didn't do. It always took that one item that you took out and just put it directly into the chest at the bottom here, which I really didn't like. So now it recombines the item with its box. And just like before, it reads the single strength of the box. And in this case, if the single strength is above 5, it will automatically take the box and just store it as the box in the slice. It will not do anything else to it anymore. Now, just like before, you can essentially configure the single strength to anything you want. So right now I have it set to 5, which roughly equates to 1/3 of the box being full with items. I thought a box that is 1/3 full doesn't really need to be unloaded anymore, and therefore it makes sense to just store it in the slice directly. As you can tell, the slices also have changed a little bit in how the logic for the bypass works. So now they're actually truly independent from one another. In the last slices over here, they had a really nasty habit of kind of bleeding over into one another, which wasn't particularly nice. So now you can set the single strength using this crafter here. So if I change the single strength of the crafter, it will change the single strength of the dot here. Now, you can only actually individually assign a single strength to one of the slices that actually has a crafter. So this one right here, for example, I can decide exactly what single strength I want for these slices in between, because they also connect to the slice next over here. They work just in compare mode. Essentially, that's how this works at all for the second slices here. You'd also always have to manipulate the slice next over, and the comparator will always pick the higher single strength being inputted into its side to compare it to. So in this case, if I make one of these 6, the second slice over here now also activates with a single strength of 6 instead of a single strength of 5. But yeah, if the box does not have enough items in it to make it all the way to the bottom here, they will be unloaded over here with the dispenser. And the items just trickle directly into the slice. What else? Yes, as you can tell, there is a lamp with a lever in the ceiling. If you flick any one of these levers, and this is also a difference to one of the old systems, it will specifically tell that slice that you don't want boxes to be unloaded anymore. So if I flick any one of these levers, any box that comes in will, regardless of contents, always go into the chest here, essentially allowing you to very precisely decide when you want boxes to be stored as boxes and when you want boxes to be stored as, well, items, not as boxes. Now you can obviously flick as many of these as you want. This is a bit of a departure from what I did with the old system, where I always had a lever at the front here. Oop, speaking of. There used to be a lever here that said bypass unloading, and now you can do that in each individual slice. Also, the lamp makes it really easy to tell which slice has been configured that way. What else? Right, empty boxes that go into the splitters. Or not empty boxes to go into the splitter. The boxes that you input into the splitters will go to the input box return here. So if you have any colored boxes that you inputted directly, so I can't spell. If you grab a light gray Shulkerbox and input it here, or like you have a Redstone box you want to get unloaded, you can input your colored boxes here, and it will also directly return the colored box to you as a colored box. So you don't have to worry about your named or colored boxes kind of disappearing on you. Up here, we have a refill boxes light. If this light is on whilst the system is running, that can also just mean that the storage is kind of pausing itself. I'll explain that for the big system over here, but it's all of this pink redstone line here. But if this lamp is on whilst the system is idling and not doing anything, you are going to have to go into the back. Over here is the empty box storage. And you need to then refill this chest with empty boxes so it's full again. The only reason for why this would slowly empty itself over time is if boxes get bypassed. So if you have a box that disappears into one of the slices because it was full, you obviously have one less box in the chest here. But it's very important that this chest is always full and actually runs as well, because if this gets too empty and if that light is on, the storage will just shut itself off. It will no longer actually store items because the splitters really desperately need empty boxes. And if they don't get any, they would completely break. So in order to prevent that from happening, the system will essentially just override itself and stop sorting boxes. So if that light is on, you have to do something about it. And just like before, there's also a skip splitting lever. So if this is on, any box I input, let's quickly do that, will, instead of going to the splitters, will be directly transferred over to the input. So you can directly input boxes into the system. In this case, it was a warped plank, meaning we should also see, there you go, it pulls it up. And because the box wasn't full enough, it will unload it, and there should now be a warped plank in there. There was already one in there, in case you're wondering why there's two. So yeah, the empty box will then trickle back up and go back into the empty box storage. The system does that on its own. Besides that, there is a chest here with empty boxes you can grab for whatever you want. They also refill the empty box here. And if you need to refill those, they go up here. Besides that, I will now show off the big system, talk about a couple of other things. So you might already be able to tell, there is a big slice to the storage that the other one doesn't have. This is the bulk slices. I'll get to how those work in a second. First, let's just grab some random boxes. That one's just cobblestone. I need 6 for one more. That one's basically empty, so let's grab that. Those are, by the way, Hermitcraft boxes from the Storage Tech Discord server. From, I think, Season 9. And yeah, those are some green boxes. Let's just dump them in here. And whilst the system is running, I will explain what's different about this. So obviously there's 2 more splitters. That's probably the major difference. As far as the amount of splitters is concerned, you want to put onto the storage. You can put up to, I think, 7 or 8 splitters on there before it seriously starts not being worth building a new splitter anymore. 4 splitters to me is the like peak sort of average that you can get to and still have nice speed. 6 is as high as you go for something really fast. This already sorts items at 275,000 items an hour. Or to put that into numbers that people can actually understand, this will sort a box roughly every 17 seconds if it actually gets going. That's with random Hermitcraft boxes. That's how I measured that. Besides that, technically speaking, if you have random full boxes, one of them is already done. Okay. If you have random, I need for head. If you have random full boxes, it will take on average, I think, 1.5 to 2 minutes to empty a single box. So if you input a single box only, it will take about 2 minutes for that to fully finish sorting. So yeah, what's different about the big system? Well, the big system has this. This is a bulk slice. The only real difference between the bulk slices and the slices over here is that this system will actually pre-sort out the boxes coming from the splitters into either going into the bulk or going into the miss. And since you don't need a miss for bulk slices, these only have a single item filter that's right here. So any boxes you input here will just sort into a single slice. I have all of the bulk items at the bottom here. So this is obviously the items you'd have a lot of, like dirt, sand, gravel, cobblestone, stone, and deep slates and stuff like that. They then get recombined with their box, just like in the regular slices. The items will get recombined with their box, and just like before, they will bypass. However, in this case, there's actually a big difference. I wonder if you can already see that, because I saw the cobblestone being sorted. Maybe it's done already. Yes, it is done. If you have a full box that bypasses, it will go into this manual box display at the top here. So you can access all of your boxes from the dispenser and the hopper and then the chest at the top here. And then you click this note block to dispense a box, if there's one in there. See, you have another one. Yep, we do. And this, for example, had some dirt in it. And if you want to break the box, because it's empty, or you want to place the next box, so let's assume for a second there's a second box in there. Doesn't matter if it's empty now. If you press the no block again, it will dispense the box that was in the ceiling and replace it with the next box in the dispenser. So I can break this box here entirely. Hello, cobblestone. So that's how the box slices work. Beyond that, if there isn't enough, they just get dumped into the slices, you can tell here. I think, from the noise, I'm barely done explaining this. This is already done. I don't hear anything happening anymore. So that was 6 full shulker boxes. You can timestamp if you want to try. When the noise stops, that's when the sorting stopped. It's probably still unloading some of the boxes, because that can take a little bit longer. But in this case, that's also already done in its entirety. Now, I will admit, I have no idea what was in those boxes that is inputted. But as you can tell, the empty boxes that are in this case colored, that you want to have back, hop into the input boxes here. And just to demonstrate this here for a second, if you take any items or empty boxes, they will make a very loud noise, by the way, because you imported the wrong thing. So that's how you know that you've done something bad, and they will be returned to you in this oopsie whoopsie chest. So yeah, let's see, there's the E4 head, randomly renamed items, more randomly renamed items, and crystals apparently aren't sorted right now. Because, yep, I've gotten very far into this video without mentioning this, but the outer slice here is where unstackable items or items that don't have a place in the storage will end up. It's essentially the overflow. You really do have to make sure that the overflow doesn't overflow itself, because that could cause a lot of problems. But beyond that point, yeah, this is where the random items will end up. I have some bottles of enchanting, and as you can tell, if I can find some, yeah, that's the ore box, that's some plant boxes. Let's see if I can find an example of a box that has been bypassed. Actually, I already showed a box that's been bypassed over here. Obviously, the cobblestone boxes got bypassed entirely and went into the bulk instead of going into the regular slices. Beyond that point, it works exactly the same as the smaller system. At the top here, you have a couple of levers that you can flick, and if you flick them, that will always bypass all of the boxes that get sorted in there. So if I grab some of this, put it over here, input it. Oh yeah, by the way, this is another way you can input items into the system a lot faster. If you individually input items as already completely split boxes like this, then do the skip splitting, and then you input them, they actually get sorted a lot faster than they otherwise would, because they bypass the entire splitting step in their entirety. So if you only have like a couple of handful of items in your inventory that you quickly want to sort, it's probably actually worth just dumping them in here as is. I didn't even break that one, whoops. And sorting them that way, because it's just much quicker. Nope. Oh, you misclicked. There you go. And I already heard them being broken. So as you can tell, it didn't unload them now because I had the lever flicked at the top here. And yeah, obviously the lever on the other side for the box slices, that's the exact same thing. It just puts the boxes straight into the dispenser, and hopper, and then the chest. And if you're wondering how much space is up here, it's 2 double chests. And the second double chest you can't get to. But yeah, that's where all of the boxes would end up. So, now for a couple of things that I still need to mention. The pink lines. You can see them coming off a lot of the buffer chests in various places. So here, for example, at the bottom here, also one, I think this is for the, yeah, this is for the pre-sorter. And of course, there's also one over here for the actual input. If this chest fills up too far with boxes of random stuff, because the splitters have been working very quickly, it turns off this fade out here. And all of these lines, oh yeah, and if the empty boxes go down too far, it throws a fault, which then causes this line at the top here to get depowered. And that means this piston retracts. So the splitters essentially stop splitting items. They will finish splitting the item they were just splitting, but if there's another item in the box that they were currently splitting, that won't be split until the fault has been resolved. So that's what that does. That's also why it's important that if the lamp here is on, the sorting is paused. Now that normally doesn't necessarily have to be a problem. It does that sometimes when it's sorting, because it takes a while for empty boxes to get returned back over into the empty box storage, because they obviously need to be unloaded, and that can take a couple of minutes. Usually it's done a couple of minutes after sorting and splitting has concluded. And then it automatically puts them back up into the chest here. And once the chest fills up enough again from finished emptying boxes, it will just turn itself back on again if it had enough boxes. If it didn't have enough boxes anymore because it bypassed too many of them, like the dirt and the cobblestone here, it will turn itself off entirely, and you're going to have to refill boxes. And last but not least, at the bottom here, for resetting these chests, or for setting these chests, I should probably say. Let's see if there's an item I can quickly set somewhere. I'll probably, yeah, let's just grab any sign. Warped hanging sign. If you want to, this is a 16 stackable item, so it only stacks to 16. If you want to assign a 16 stackable to this, you need to make sure that you don't just remove a single encoder item like this, because this chest is now broken. If I take out one of the items, you can tell from my subtitles at the bottom here that you don't hear a piston move. That's because the 16 stackable obviously has more, or like a higher signal strength value than a regular 64 stackable. As you can tell, if I take this back out again, you hear a piston move at the bottom here. You can probably also hear it in the video itself. Now, if you just want to assign any random 64 stackable, all you have to do is swap it with one of the encoder items. So let's grab some random door. Let's grab mangrove doors. There's no way I have those. Nope. If you want to encode a 16 or 64 stackable, you just replace the item, one of these encoder items. And then you can hear piston moves again. And if you want to set up a 16 stackable, you need to take out 4 encoder items instead of just 1. So you need to take out the item here, and then 3 more from the stack at the bottom here. So 1, 2, 3, and you put it back, and you can already hear the piston moves back again. And now, even if I remove a 64 stackable, you can hear the piston move. And if I remove a 16 stackable, you also hear the piston move. So this is now correctly configured again. You can also take out some of the other 16 stackables. Yeah, I need to take out 4 encoder items for every warped, for every 16 stackable you put in. Now, if you look at some of the other chests, there's only 5 encoder items that are left here. So if you wanted to encode more than one 16 stackable into this chest, you would run out of encoder items. Well, that's a really easy fix. One of the shovels here. The shovels are just in here to save you from having to rename an entire stack of encoder items. You can just replace it like this, and this chest works exactly the same. And now you have more encoder items to do 16 stackables with again. But yeah, like a full stack of encoder items like this can be replaced with an unstackable item of any kind. A couple of last things before I'm done. This entire storage and this entire project probably wouldn't have been possible without the help from a lot of the members on the Storage Tech Discord server. You will find a link to that in the description. So if you need any help with this, or there's a problem with it, you can probably find me lurking on there at any given point in time, and feel free to just ping me. Beyond that point, in the vault download, which I will put into the description, there will probably be signs on a couple of the components. So for example, anything that was not made by me, like this here, for example, or Talent's card sorter here, there will be a sign on there with a credit to whoever made it. And there will also be a large list, probably, in the description of all the people that contributed in some way with something, either knowingly or not. And I'll just link to their YouTube channel or something. Beyond that point, who is this really for as far as storing is concerned, or storage items is concerned? Obviously, this is a fairly large, big project here with the 6 splitters and debug. So for most people, I would say, if you want to build something like this, just build the smaller one with the 4 splitters. If you want it to be faster, then it already is, which, let's face it, I don't really think you need it to be much faster. This is already ridiculous. Build 2 more splitters on this as well, and it will work perfectly fine. Obviously, you don't have the bulk here, but I would say for the people that actually want to end up using this, the bulk kind of is a very optional thing that you really only need if you want the box displays. Besides that, the main drawbacks of this entire storage obviously are that you only have the 5 double chests per category of items. It's also a reason why I wanted to make bulk slices for if you have an item that takes up a lot of space. Currently, there's a couple of problems with the storage that don't really arise from the storage itself, but more from how to use it. So if you let some of the slices go for too long and they completely fill up, there's a lot of things that can and will break, especially goes for the overflow. So this isn't really meant as a throw all of your items into a chest and ignore them till the rest of time type of storage. I consider this to be more of a sorting help. So if you have a lot of project boxes that you very quickly need sorted into chests, and you want to then temporarily store most of those items somewhere in categories that make sense for a human to think about, then this is definitely the storage for you. This is, I think, currently the fastest available miss of this sort of size. A couple of more things to note. The entire storage is currently rotational because of the splitters. The splitters have to be built from east to west in the orientation that you see them in the system here. And kind of because of that, I didn't really concern myself too much with rotating the rest of the storage. So I would currently consider this bidirectional. So this has to be built in the axis that you see it built in the world download. Speaking of annoying things that I will probably fix for the next version if I ever get around to doing it. This pre-sorter right here is incredibly janky, and honestly, probably one of the reasons for why you really don't want to be building the bulk part of this entire storage and just go with the smaller one. You need to configure all of the bulk items you want to actually get sorted in the pre-sorter chest here. So all items you want to go into the bulk also have to be in here, just so that they actually end up there. Besides that, I have a very handy sign wall over here. There's a whole bunch of stuff of this that is still very much applicable for the new storage. So I think I already talked about the input a little bit. That obviously has changed again to a certain degree. As you can tell, this is the old input. This one is the new input. It is basically the same, so it's not really, no, that's not the new input. Wait a second, it's basically the same for the smaller system. For the bigger system, however, yeah, this looks a lot different because this also has to sort out empty boxes. If this gets an empty box, the pre-sorter here will break. So you can't have empty boxes in this either. So it needs to sort those out as well. What else? My nice wall. There's still a box in the first chest. If you want to know what that's for, watch the last video. I will not be explaining to you how a minecart setup. If there really is a large interest in the storage, I might make a small tutorial video for all the annoying bits and pieces that you need to know how to build. Beyond that, I feel like you can figure everything out by just looking at the world download. Right, there needs to be, or there has to be, no duplicates in any of the encoder chests. That hasn't changed. If you have a coal in this chest and a coal in this chest, with the new storage, it's not really that much of a problem anymore because it doesn't use the piston bolt anymore. So it wouldn't suck out both of them. But the coal in the second chest over here would just never get sorted into it. You kind of waste an encoder slice slot for no reason. Overflow management I've already mentioned. Unstackables go in the front here into the overflow just like before. Nothing's changed about that. And yeah, I do truly believe I am done talking about all the stuff that I needed to talk about now. So I do hope you have a nice rest of your day. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. And beyond that, have a good day. Bye-bye.